Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Juicy Podcast. My name's Liz Elam. I am your host. And we are super excited today because I work out of a really cool space in Austin called Gevity Wellness. And I have the founders with us, and it is Espoir and Connor Michalek. Welcome, guys. Good morning. How are you?
Doing great, Liz. Thanks for having us. Good to
Of
see you again.
of course. Espoir, how are you? I want the
I'm
real
doing
deal.
amazing.
We're good. Everybody's feeling fantastic.
Doing good. It's been a bit of a week, or last week, let's just say it like that. But moving and grooving. Doing good.
Okay. All right.
Grateful.
Good.
Thank you for
Good.
having us.
Of course. Okay. So we all know morning routines set the tone for how we show up. And I'm a little obsessed about morning routines. So I'm asking everybody on the podcast this year to tell me about their morning routines. So when you wake up, what's the first thing you do to ground your day amidst all the things you're building? And I'm going to start with you, Connor, and then go to you, Espa.
Say the first thing that we do, like we'll wake up and we'll just kind of, maybe it's TMI, but we'll just roll into each other's arms, for like the first 5-6 minutes.
Dude, that's super good for you.
It does. It makes like a big difference. Like our thing is always, try to smile first thing in the morning too. That's the first thing the other person sees is like a big old smile. Of course, it's not every day, as you can imagine, but that's something we try to prioritize every time we wake up first thing in the morning. And then I would say I'm a little bit slower. Espo likes to, and she'll talk to herself, but she likes to, have a little bit more time, a little bit more me time in the morning. I'll kind of like roll out of bed. First thing we'll do is pretty habitual for both of us is we'll kind of do electrolytes in the morning, take our creatine, do our ginger turmeric water, and then we'll kind of get ready and have some coffee and kind of head out to Gevity.
All right. Espa, anything to add on that?
No, I mean, it's essentially the same. When we do have off on the weekends or we take a day for ourselves, one of the first things we like doing is obviously, hold each other for 5 to 6 minutes and have our electrolytes, but also play a game of chess in the morning. It's very, very therapeutic for us to start our day off when we have a day off by playing a game of chess with a coffee. So,
Well, you guys have inspired me. I've never played chess and I'm starting to learn because I want in.
Yeah. Well, you have to play Espoir. She's a good teacher. But she still goes hard. She won't like let up or anything like
Oh,
that.
I love that. I am that person
She's
too.
great. Hear her.
I'm a sore loser.
Same. Okay, well,
Yeah.
cool. And y'all, there's chess sets all over Gevity. So I am going to do something different. Usually I ask you to tell me about your business, but because I have the pleasure of working out of Gevity, I'm going to give a little bit about Gevity, and then I'm going to ask you guys about your founder's story. So you guys, I really like Gevity because it's kind of a visionary space. It's blending wellness, focused work, and community. And it feels really fresh at this moment in time. And one of the things I really like is Espoir and Connor have really put community at the front. And most of the space is collaborative, meaning it's lots of open space to settle in. There's ergonomic chairs at tables, there's couches, there's really beautiful seating, there's a ton of phone booths, there's rooms you can walk on a call, there's rooms where you can have, meeting rooms, there's a conference room. But what's different is there's also, by the way, a giant tree in the space. And then there's a beautiful soundproof yoga studio, but it can be a Pilates studio or a sound bath or whatever studio. Absolutely stunning space. They've really designed it to be very calming, very beautiful tones. And then there's also a full recovery area. There is cold plunge, there's saunas, there's red light therapy, there's beautiful locker rooms. So it's all in one. And it's a big, beautiful space. And they opened in December. And how are the numbers looking since December?
Yeah, it's been quite the road to get where we're at right now. Of course, it's not like we just opened up. It was about 2 years worth of work prior to opening. Actually, it was exactly 669 days from the day we worked in this plant. Yeah, know that. So from the moment we put pen to paper, started writing the business plan, we opened 669 days later. We opened with 157 members, December 1. We grew by, I can't do the quick math right now, but by January 1, we had 217 members, and
Amazing.
now we're hovering right around 250.
That's
Um,
incredible. And Espa, what do you attribute that growth to?
I think it's word of mouth. We've never really been big into ads or, the influencer route. We've really pride ourselves in growing naturally and organically.
Mhm.
And I think we've done a great job just like pulling in these certain micro influencers in Austin that
Mhm.
really believe in the mission, vision that Gevity is, and then just growing literally from word of mouth.
Yeah.
So,
That's awesome. That's
yeah.
actually how I did it too, but it was a long time ago. So tell me a little bit about the journey that brought you to wanting to open Jevity.
yeah, I can kind of talk. It all started with the ice bath epiphany, as you said, Liz. Like, we are a workspace, but we're also a social club, and we're also a wellness club and a recovery center,
Uh-huh.
essentially, all in one. So we got four different businesses in one. And the idea really came, where I was at a weird place in my life in which I had lost my job, a job that I really cared for, that I enjoyed being a part of, and I had great mentors. And, it's just these classic corporations doing these layoffs, and it's, very surgical. But, and I kind of respect it to a certain degree. But late 2022, I was left without a job, and so I said, "Screw this, I'm gonna kinda take a year for myself to really build." Myself, I was in a down place. I think you've been affected by a layoff, Liz, from my memory, and I think we all, maybe not, okay, but, um, a lot of people have,
Good for
and,
you.
it sucks. It sucks for so many different reasons,
Yeah.
but I remember being in a dark place and just being like, "You know what? I'm gonna take the severance, I'm gonna sell my car, I'm gonna cash my 401k, I'm gonna chase a dream to travel around the world for a year." I figured I'd come back to Austin and enter the corporate world, but, these corporations, they're gonna see a huge gap on the resume, and they'll be like, "Hey, where were you?" Or they're
Mhm.
just gonna maybe have a little pessimistic view on that sort of break, even though I knew it was what I needed. And so in preparation of me leaving, I was like, "You know what? I'm gonna have this crazy journey around the world through 11 months, through 27 countries, and kinda go into places that people don't normally go to, well beyond just the Sydneys and Parises." But start in West Africa, backpack my way east to Argentina through 27 countries. And then, in preparation of me leaving, I was like, "You know what? I'll have a crazy story to tell. So why don't I create a travel blog from scratch?" Having no idea how to design a website, code, none of that. And so I was kind of focused on this like day in, day out prior to me leaving. Also, the back end of that trip was dedicated to my big passions, which is like mountaineering. So I had a big trip in Nepal planned. I also had one of the seven summits in Argentina planned, close to 23,000 feet. So I had to take like training and recovery like very seriously through that. Um, and so I started designing this travel blog website focused on training and recovery before leaving, went over to a local wellness spot, hopped in the ice bath, had all this energy rush through me. So in my mind, I'm like, you know what I'm going to do tomorrow? I'm going to come back, hop in the ice bath, have a nice cup of coffee, pull out my laptop, crank out some blogs, then in between I can kind of focus on training and recovery and be in a cool communal setting. And when I had asked to bring my laptop back, they literally said, "No Wi-Fi allowed, man." So
Mm.
that was like like a light bulb, or what we call, or I call, like an ice bath epiphany, in which I really recognize that there need to be a place here in Austin specifically where you can really channel that energy from wellness, whether it be an ice bath, yoga session, gym session, a green juice, meditation, whatever. Take that energy and focus and throw it towards the two other most important aspects of your life, which typically is your work and your community. So I didn't think anything of it, hit the road, had a 45-liter backpack, and just like that idea was in my head. I was like, there needed to be a place like that in Austin. And then 2 months into that journey, meet Espoir in the south of Spain by pure coincidence. And she can talk to her background. But of course, as our relationship flourished, we really kept asking the question, like, why do the most important aspects of our life all live in silos? From our work, a place where we can chase passions or build hobbies, to our community is, and of course, our wellness. So we kept asking that question. And then I'll let Espa kind of talk to her background and how we became like kind of the perfect team or perfect complement to really kind of like launch this. And, Austin is also why we came back to Austin too. It's like, I would argue, the number one co working city in the nation. I think 33% of the workforce work remote here. I would argue it's also the health and wellness capital of the US right now. So that was kind of like, okay, Austin would be the perfect spot to open up a business like this.
Yeah. So there's only one thing in your story that I disagree with, Connor, and that is, which I've heard this story and I love this story, but you said it was pure coincidence that you met Espoir. It wasn't. It was complete destiny.
Yeah. Well, it's funny
It's
'cause
actually really funny. Yeah.
Tell me.
Yeah.
well, when I was like, I sold everything, right? So even before flying out, I had nowhere to stay. So I was sleeping on my sister's couch. And I vividly remember her being like, "You're going to go find your wife out there." And I'm like, I got 2 pairs of jeans, a 45-liter backpack. Like, this year's for me. I'm not going to let no girl come between me and this year. And then sure enough, 2 months,
I
there
love
she is.
that. Espoir?
Mhm.
Should I
What's your part of the
backtrack?
journey? Yeah.
I mean, it's funny because like when Connor lost his job back in 2023, I was also going through some things, and I was living in Australia, and I was very, 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 very serious about moving there,
Mm.
and I fell in love with it. I have two sisters living there, and I lived there for over half a year, and was like, yeah, this is it. I want to move here. I want to study carpentry. And I flew back home to Austria and was like, okay, I'm going to pack all my stuff and I'm going to apply to study carpentry there. And then literally a month after coming back to Australia, my brother had asked me, hey, do you want to come to Spain, with us and do a trip, like him and his fiance. And Connor met this girl 6 years ago in Australia and that he befriended. And her and her fiance, she met essentially, my fiance met the girl he met in Australia. I'm not doing a very good job of telling the story right now, but so it was coincidence in a way where, he met her 6 years ago. And if he wouldn't have met her,
Mhm.
I wouldn't be here right now. And like, we wouldn't be together, So it also, like, all of the strings that are kind of like
Mhm.
attaching and that
There's a thread.
destiny, exactly, happened like years and years ago.
Mhm.
So my whole plan was I'm not going to let anything get in the way of me moving to Australia. No man, no nothing. And then I met Connor in Spain. Pure coincidence. He happened to be passing through for 5 hours and we hung out and played a game of chess. It wasn't love
Oh,
at
no
first sight. It
way.
was nothing special. Yeah. And we played a game of chess. He won one, I won one. And then he happened to be in Vienna 2 weeks after. So he texted me and he was like, rematch, losers was the other round. And I was like, okay, I'll do it.
Mhm.
My gut kind of said yes, but I knew, hey, like, I should not steer from the path that I want to be on right now. And, ran around Vienna for 3 days, kind of started really liking each other. He obviously won or lost the game. I showed him around. And yeah, from there, he asked me to road trip with him in Albania. And all my friends were like, you are crazy. Don't go on a road trip with the guy you know for 3 days. You're going to be
Yeah.
stuck in a car with him for a week. And I was like, no, I'm going to go. Something calls me to go. So yeah, day 2 in Albania was kind of game over, and he had told me about his ice bath epiphany. And I grew up in a wellness environment. Like my
Mhm.
parents, they started one of the oldest and first gyms in Vienna. They're both personal trainers, instructors, just entrepreneurs, but also hippies at heart. So they love traveling around. And I come from a very big family. I'm one out of 12. I have 10 siblings from the same parents, and then yeah, they divorced 5 years ago. But anyways, we grew up like sailing around the world on a catamaran as well. So I kind of had that life of wellness, but
Oh,
also
yeah.
traveling life. So yeah, from there, I mean, I've always wanted to open up a yoga studio gym somewhere in the world. And when I met Connor and he told me about his idea, I was like, oh my
Well,
God,
let's
this is
go.
perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it. I
So,
love it. So, one question I have for y'all is just kind of a fun one. Is I'm curious because you guys have put so many really cool wellness elements in. What were some elements that you looked at and rejected?
oh, I can actually go on this one.
Okay.
So, we're very, very intentional with everything that we put into Gevity. Like every little corner, and people feel that. When you walk in, you're like,
Mhm.
oh, like whoever created or designed this or whoever owns this put a lot of intention into every little detail. And we've always viewed Gevity that way. And like, at the forefront of everything we're building is community. But, we had always seen Gevity as, yes, the co-working, yes, the mental work you're going to have to be doing, the physical work you're going to be doing, the environment, right? And then we had planned to have a whole area with just massage rooms and
Mm.
facials. And thank God, literally, I think 2 months before we started construction, we essentially came up with the idea to build recovery in that area instead. Because, the most important things of your life are, yes, the environment you surround yourself with, the physical aspect of it, the mental aspect, who you surround yourself with, what you put into your body, but also the recovery aspect that so many people neglect.
I love that.
So,
I love that. I think it's very smart. Hey guys, just breaking in to let you know that we have an amazing event coming up this spring. It's Juicy's 50th in New York City. You need to be in the room, and how you do that is you join us by buying a ticket. You can get your ticket at na.juicy.co, which stands for North America, by the way. And then if you would like to join us in the UK, we've got an event coming up in Manchester and one in London. You can get more details on that at uk.juicy.co. And last but not least, africa.juicy.co. We've got an event coming up in September in Cape Town that we're super excited about. We want to learn what's going on in Africa, and we want to pour everything we can into that continent. If you'd like to have a Juicy ad or be a podcast guest or talk to us about sponsorship or anything else, just hit us up at info@gcuc.co. Talk to you soon. And so, what are some of the most impactful outcomes that members are already reporting back to you? Which, by the way, I've got a couple to share. I've already made friends. I've already got people who, if I don't show up, they're like, hey, where are you? Which I love. That to me is like, shows that the community is working. One of the things I've seen a lot that is unique to Gevity is you sit down at a table and people introduce themselves. That doesn't always happen. That happens in an environment where people feel comfortable, encouraged to do so. And I think that's really nice. I've met some really interesting people by just introducing myself to the people at the table. And I love that. And then Alexis, who's a member, and her husband David are coming to speak at Juicy because I met them at Gevity. And also, of course, Espoir and Connor will be at Juicy. But like, I love that's how I met those guys. So, what are some of
And
the
and
other stories you can share of what people have been like? Oh my gosh.
Well, I'll just kind of like, yeah, this is probably the thing that we've been most proud of. Espo and I, of course, we've designed a beautiful space and it's
Mm-hmm.
functional and that, but seeing our community's live reactions and responses to what Gevity has played in just like an impact in their day has been incredible. Right. I think, we just like kicked out a survey last week, for a number of different reasons, but like one of the questions was like, how often are you spending time at Gevity? Believe it or not, 85% of our people are here at least 3 to 5 times a week, if
That's
not every
crazy.
day.
Yeah, that's
You know what I mean?
unusual.
Is that not crazy? So that's like at our core, our true anchor is our workspace. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I know you went into a little bit, but it's private meeting rooms, it's a big open workspace, it's conference room, it's individual call rooms, a treadmill desk. So that's our true anchor. So people are coming here to work, right? And I think if you were to look at these classical, more corporate style workspaces, like one thing you get is just, I mean, it's people just kind of have to go in there. They're not like willingly like
Mm-hmm.
trying to go in. You know what I mean? And I think since the advent of COVID, I think we're social beings by nature, and it's a great flexibility to have to be able to work remote. But at the end of the day, what do we want? We want to say hello to someone, to make a new friend, both personally or professionally. And so we've created an environment in which people are recognizing that from the moment they walk in. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm telling you, we've gotten feedback. Gevity has saved our life. Like, I can't imagine my day without Gevity anymore. The idea that I can walk in and maybe I still need to work and I need to lock in and I need my focus time, but the ability to at least say hi to someone. We got some positive feedback the other day just by like someone who basically said he went to another co-working spot and he went to go get coffee. And he said, "Hey, how are you doing?" to that next person getting coffee. And they almost like looked at him like he was a crazy man.
Mm.
And like I think in these classic co-working environments, it's like you go in, you sit in your little desk, and like you just don't talk. Here, we've completely created a culture where it's the opposite. That you get to know each other, you say hello. Ethel and I have really tried intentionally to do that. From like we hug our staff, we hug our members. We're running around the club saying hello, sitting down, training next to them, hopping the cold plunge next to them. Um, and really engaging with people. And I think, the most beautiful thing is just honestly like seeing how much people resonate with this idea that we're all here for, a reason in which we want to better ourselves. And that kind of community and culture is just carried on across everyone here.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Mhm.
It shows. It shows. So Espoir, this one's for you. What practices and daily habits are helping you avoid burnout and staying connected to your purpose? Because you guys have a lot going on. You're growing really fast. There's just so much going on. What are you guys doing to help alleviate that?
That's a very good question. And, it's funny. We've created this and it's like literally like wellness in itself, right? So it's supposed to like stop you from burning out. And I think for the first 2 weeks of us being open, it was like, oh, like we hardly used the club because we were just so burned out in this constant go, go, go mode that we've been
Mhm.
facing for the last 8 months up to, 2 years. And I think one day Con and I looked at each other and we're like, yeah, like, we have to like start using what we've created to be able to not burn out. So after we have our morning routine, like we love going to Gevity and then we get a workout in, we do a sauna, a cold plunge. And the best thing is it's kind of become a culture in our sauna. And I know some people might not like this, but I love it that you have conversation there. You talk, you connect. For me, sauna is where the magic happens. You actually get to know members. That's when their guard is down. That's where they're battling through the heat. So that kind of fills my cup in the morning and sets
Mhm.
the energy for me. Because, what makes it is not just the physical workout. It's not just the recovery through the sauna and the cold plunges. It's also the conversations you have in the morning that set you up
100%.
for your
Yep.
day. So, yeah, that's it for
Yeah,
me.
I
And then
think
throughout the day,
I think Gevity is such a, you are who you surround yourself with. And like everybody there is working on something. Everybody has a wellness focus in their life. And that's really unique. And I love that.
Mhm.
Mhm. And that's what
Um,
we're really trying to do is just, rethink the future of wellness and work and create sustainable ambition. I think, to your point, Liz, I think like arguably anyone we have within these walls, they're successful in their own right, and they're creating, they're working hard and they're ambitious. But to Espa's point, I mean, burnout is very real. It's something that we face. And what we've created is an environment in which you kind of take care of yourself to create that sustainable ambition, right? You're not meant to just sit behind a computer for 8, 9, 10 hours a day, right? Hunched over and staring at your screen. But like,
mhm.
what if you have a little bit of a break? Okay, cool. I'm going to go into the gym real quick. I'm going to go get a quick 30-minute treadmill session in. Or, hey, I got a little free time in the afternoon. I'm going to take an afternoon yoga class. But the big thing that I think is highly neglected in the workspace, and I know Espa touched on it, is the recovery aspect.
Mhm.
And so this is like one thing that I noticed just from my perspective was that, my big passion, as I mentioned earlier, is mountaineering. So I recently climbed Denali in Alaska and I was training like a madman. I mean, 2 to 4
Mhm.
hours a day. And, this was during kind of this was last spring. So as you can imagine like this was kind of like, ooh, we were rocking and rolling with Gevity. We're making a lot of important decisions. It was very, very stressful. But I was still, training and I was paying very close attention to my data and analytics through a Garmin watch. And I'd be like dragging a sled for like 2.5 hours. Yet I noticed, why is my heart rate jacked up higher than it was this morning when I was training at 3 p.m.? Oh, it's because I was on a stressful work call.
Mm.
And that's kind of like where the idea of like the Gevity lab or our recovery zone within our space came to be. Because like, we have stressful days. A lot of our members are in high performance work environments. It's like take care of yourself. Like go in the red light, use PEMF technology, go get a massage, go in the infrared sauna. Being able to break up your day with recovery modalities, I think is highly neglected in the workspace. But I think you're going to just see a huge shift. And like obviously that's kind of our big goal is really redefining the workspace through a recovery and wellness lens.
I love it. I love it.
Mhm.
So, where are you guys headed next in terms of programming, space partnerships, or new offerings?
Well, right now, so we have 18,000 square feet in our space, and we've only built out 15,000. And the idea behind that was like, hey, what does our community really want, for the additional 3,000 square feet? right? So we have an expansion plans within our current facility right now where we're going to grow into 3,000 square feet. And it could have gone so many different ways. I mean, there was ideas, oh, pickleball court, oh, maybe an
Mhm.
extended gym, oh, maybe like a whole new Gevity lab. Well, like we sent out this survey a couple weeks, and this is always where we're kind of leaning, but we're building out more of a designated space for work, right? Designated offices, designated desks, designate or overflow area, hot seats. The cool thing with what we're trying to do, and I don't want to get into too many details, but think about offices with a wellness lens,
Mhm.
So whether it's the chairs, PMF chairs, to the red light in there, to a stretching wall, think about your office uh, basically outfitted through a wellness lens.
Mhm.
And so that's kind of where we're going long term is like outfitting existing models, offices, corporate campuses, existing workspaces through a wellness lens. And that way we can scale way
Love
quicker
it.
than, we could if just building these big locations.
Yeah. And are you guys
Mhm.
planning more locations in Austin?
Yeah.
Maybe.
Well,
Well, we don't wanna
yeah.
say too much, like, things are up in the air right now. The one thing we're trying to figure out is what we wanna put in that additional space, right? And then once we have that set up, because things are constantly changing, like, I
Yeah.
don't wanna say something and then,
Yeah.
we're not doing it here.
But
Okay.
yeah,
All
let's
right.
just say like the goal is to carve out Gevity spaces within at least two locations here in Austin, two other locations.
Great. Great.
Hmm.
Okay. So this is my favorite question, which is a difficult one. And that's why I ask it because it's fun for me. What question should I have asked you, but I didn't? And then you get to answer that question.
Ooh, okay. That's a good one, but also
I
difficult.
know. I'm pretty proud of that one.
Um, okay. For me personally, I think you should have asked, "What do you wanna protect as you grow?"
Like
I
it.
think, I mean, I think about this constantly. We're changing things, we're expanding, we're probably gonna open up multiple locations, and as I'm thinking about the future, I'm like, "Okay, I'm very happy with where we're at right now in terms of culture," right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
how our members are, how everybody treats each other, how respectful everybody is, how conscious and aware people are. And for me personally, if you grow and you expand and you have multiple locations, things can dilute. Like things like this came from a true need that we created that we've been looking for, right? So now we've grown this baby, and now this baby needs multiple people involved to be able to grow. It needs a whole community for it to grow and get bigger. But I want to reel that baby back in whenever it gets diluted, and it's not what it stemmed from, what it came from, and especially the community that we've been able to create.
I love that so much, and I will tell you that is the hardest thing to do, and I've been watching this industry for over 15 years, like, scaling community, which to me is the core part of your culture, really, one of the key parts, is one of the hardest things to do, and any brand that I've seen grow to maybe 30 plus locations generally loses it. So, really, really good point, excellent point. Connor, what about you?
Um, I think, a good question would be like, just maybe it's unique to us is like, and I'm sure you hear it, around and around. Like,
Mhm.
what is building a business with or like with your significant other?
Ooh.
Because I think like, I mean, how many times like you guys are crazy, what are you guys doing? It's stupid, But I'm like sitting here, I'm like, your significant other, as long as you truly, truly believe in each other and you know that they're the one, you're willing to go up every tough mountain, every high, every low, that's when you see yourself at the worst. And basically, like, if you can have that trust in someone who's willing to bleed with you can build anything.
Mm.
And, I always like to go back to like this classic example, like earlier on in our relationship where we were in Austria and she took me out to the mountains and she used to work at a resort out there. And we had a nice dinner one night and all of a sudden she left. And I'm like, where'd she go? She's like back in the back cleaning dishes as if she was an employee there again. And I was like a little frustrated at the time. But then I remember vividly being like this girl takes pride in what she does
Mm.
cares and she has that like work ethic, right?
Yep.
And I remember vividly being like, "Oh, I could probably build something special with her."
Oh,
And
I
so I think the
love
big thing
that.
too is I think, you're constantly told, "Oh, don't build stuff with family or your significant other," but I'd argue, I mean, like, that's when some real magical stuff can happen because you're just willing to do it and you go all in on each other, but also the business or whatever you're focused on.
That is super beautiful. I love that so much. You guys have a really great love story, and it's translated into a really amazing business. And, it's funny when I started as well, I had a lot of family who told me I shouldn't do that or questioned it. And you know what? I came to find was that's all based on their fear. Right? That
Mhm.
is somebody trying to transfer their fear onto you, and yeah, do not take it because you guys have something special. You've built something really special in Austin, and it's funny because, I just got back from a trip, so yesterday I had some bunch of appointments, so I couldn't be at Gevity, and then today I wanted to record from my home because I have special lighting, blah blah. And I'm like in my calendar for Wednesday morning is drive to Gevity. Because that's where I wanna work. And I
Oh,
love that I can peel off in the afternoon and get in a workout or go work on the treadmill because it does just shift your whole day and your perspective, and
mhm.
it's really cool. I'm really excited about it. I'm so excited for you guys to come to GC and meet the whole industry because 'cause they're gonna meet you right where you're at, and it's gonna be awesome. There is such a trend towards workplace and wellness that I am personally incredibly excited about. I think one of the next things after physical and recovery is mental health. And I think that's where the future is going to go. Anyways, we are at the end of our time. It goes so fast. Thank you so much for this conversation, guys. I'm really proud of you. Thank you for sharing your wisdom, your lived experience, your bold vision behind Gevity, and your love story. I know our listeners are going to want to learn more about what you're building and how they can plug in, whether they're in Austin or watching wellness design evolve globally. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to hit the like and follow and never miss a conversation like this. And let's keep the dialogue going online. Also, don't forget, tickets are on sale for Juicy. You can get them at na.juicy.co. Connor and Espoir will both be there, and Espoir will be joining us on a panel where we're talking about some real interesting niche trends we're seeing in kind of club, workspace, and wellness. And so, once again, thank you guys.
Yeah, thank you, Liz. I
Yeah, thank you,
appreciate you.
Liz.
Looking forward to seeing you tomorrow.
Yeah, I will be there.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.